it's crazy because there's so many people out here in this world who don't believe or still don't know God for themselves. And I have a lot of conversations with these type of people. And the funniest thing is, in the process of having a conversation, I find out that they're really intelligent people. But the question I always ask them is that, whenever you find yourself and life is crashing and you at that lowest point in your life and there's no way to turn or anybody to talk to you, I ask them, well, where do you go? And it's funny because these same people, their response is always, oh, I go to myself, or I turn to me. And then I look at them, I'm like, but you're the reason why you're in that place or that situation in the first place, So that doesn't make sense. And then that's how that conversation evolves, because at that point, now let's really talk about who God is, And it's crazy because a lot of times people, they want to put God, church, and God's people on the same pedestal. They want to use another human being as the reason why they don't believe in God. Or church people, and I seen this church person doing them, but these people are human. We're talking about God, and you have to know the difference, I remember the first time I personally met God for myself. It was crazy because I wanted to know who God was. So here I would go to the altar every chance I got. I run into the altar, chest out, head back, hands up. And in the process of me going up there, the preacher, they praying for me for 5-10 minutes at a time. But in the process of them praying for me, I would never receive God's Holy Spirit because in that process, God knew that I was half-hearted about it. He knew that I didn't really sincerely want to meet him. He knew that, truth be told, that I was afraid of God's power, And so I would run up there, I get prayed for. So I never forget, one night I was in church and the pastor was, he went to praying and he said, out of everybody in the church, said, let me pray for you. And at this point, I'm stubborn to the fact of who God was. And I tell him no. I said, nah, when God ready for me, he'll let me know. He couldn't believe I said it. So then you had the congregation and he went to pray and he's like, hey man, this guy don't know what he's doing. Can someone in the church bring him up to me so that I could pray for him? So I had different people, multiple people coming up to me, asking me, could go up and let him pray for you? And I'm like, no. When God ready for me, he'll let me know. When he ready, he'll let me know. In the process of me doing that, everybody in church was at odds. Like, wow. I'm like, nah, I'm not going. So at this point, my sister, she gets afraid and she starts crying like, Leaf, just please go up there. Let him pray for you. I'm like, no, when God ready for me, he'll let me know. And that's probably the worst thing in the world that I could have done. Because the next day, as I was riding in my car, I never forget, I'm in the car riding down Sugar Creek, listening to 50 Cent. Lord, forgive me, 'cause I sin over and over again just to stay on top. I'm listening to this song and I go look down at my radio just for a second to take it back. In the process of me going to take that song back, the car in front of me slam on brakes. In that moment, I don't have a seatbelt on. I'm doing about 35 miles an hour and I run slam right in the back of that car. And when I hit that car, the impact of the wreck, I hit it so hard that my chest knocked the steering wheel on the ground and I went flying through the windshield. But in that moment, I knew God was real. Seen God. And, I got this scar on my face to prove it, And the next time I went to the altar, I had to go with my heart open, wanting to receive him. And a lot of times, that's how we drop the ball. We go with doubt. And God is probably the greatest spiritual father figure in this world that you can have when it comes to having a father. And he knows you. He's like any other son. I'm not going to give you, a father's never going to give his son something or his child something that he's not ready for. And that's how God worked. At that moment when I went, I was ready to receive him. So he let me in. And so that's my advice to anyone who don't believe in God or don't know God. Get to know God for yourself. Take an opportunity, go to God with your heart and let God in, and you'll see your life change for the better. Motivational Mondays. See you next week. Lou.